All right, so I guess this is episode one. uh, no script. Just making this up. As I said, as I said in another video, I'm just doing this for the fun of recording this and throwing it up and seeing if anybody cares. I've got a project that I'm working on here. I am basically taking all the powertrain, electronics, everything out of a 2009 BMW 135i and stuffing it into the body of a 1968 Triumph TR6. I'm building a custom chassis and I'm just going to learn as I go. So if you want to come along for the ride with me, this is what I'm going to do, and I have no idea how it's going to turn out, how well it's going to turn out. I have a vision of what I want it to look like. I've spent a lot of time before I got going on this and while I was tearing the two cars apart, figuring stuff out. I figure it's going to take a while to do, so this is not going to be a 3 video and I'm finished sort of thing. But if you want to come along for the ride, come along. Uh, like, subscribe, notifications, ding ding, all that shit. And yeah, not for children because I'll probably swear while I'm doing this. Yeah, there we go. And this episode, I'm going to start building or assembling the frame that I've designed for this. It's not fully designed, I just have a framework, no pun intended, but I'll go through that with you and show you what I'm going to do. This is where I'm at with the Triumph, where I've got it stripped down. I was very fortunate with the condition of this body. I found it in Calgary and brought it up. It has some rust, some panels, parts that need to be replaced, but nothing insane. So I'm quite happy with how nice this is. There's other videos that, shorts showing a lot of that information. The BMW has been completely torn apart and is gone. So what I'm left with here is I dropped the motor, the subframe, the suspension, the transmission, all as one piece. This was something that I looked for in a vehicle when I was deciding what vehicle to get. And as you can see here, this has a aluminum subframe here that mounts in 3 points. There's one back here and one over here that mount to the original unibody of the BMW. And the engine mounts are right in here. It's the engine mount. So it made sense with this unit because everything is slung from this. There was no redesigning geometry for steering, for suspension, for any of those things, for mounting the engine, etc. It's a bolt-in solution. And likewise, the rear of the vehicle is the same thing. It has 4 mounting points, and there's another one just down there. There's 4 mounting points, and this unit bolts right into the frame. So all I have to do is build a frame, which is kind of fun because after taking a ton of measurements, I put those into CAD, and I came up with frame parts. So I had these particular parts cut. They are 120 wall, 2-inch by 3-inch welded seam tube. I had them laser cut from my CAD drawings, and that is what I'm going to be doing this time, is starting to build the subframe, starting to get that all welded up and assembled. Now, I am not a welder at all. I bought a welder unit and I've just done an unboxing of that. I took a 1-week-long course on how to weld, and hopefully I'll learn as I go and we'll see what happens. At the front of the frame, I basically made a copy of the angles that are in the unibody of the TR135 as it mounts to the subframe. And then what I did was I turned a set of these, which are locating pins that fit in here like this, and they help locate and keep that in place. And I have some holes here, so this slots in, and I'll come around the back side here, and you can see fits like that. Keeps it from moving around, and it means that I can run a good bead of weld in there, and I can run a bead around here that I can clean up. And what that does is that provides a nice solid mounting point. So the subframe right here will actually sit flat against this and gets bolted up and holds it in place, and this pin locates it. The back two are slightly different. They are a standoff. They're not about locating, but rather about bolting, and the two of them go in. I also did this here because right here, this is a crossover piece that goes. It actually goes behind the engine, where along the firewall, and I mimicked the shape from the stamp metal in the BMW, in the unibody. So that actually goes through the piece. And this here, number 20, is one of those pieces. But you can see, and this is kind of backwards, but this fits in like that and will get welded through, and it will come out and up and around, and or up and around and over top of the transmission, and that will sit in this area in here. I'll be changing this firewall a bit, but it'll provide support there and give a bit more rigidity to it, but also some mounting points. So the next step here is going to be to start welding this up, and I've got two sides to do, so it's going to be a fair bit of welding. Yeah, let's get to it. So before I get too far ahead of myself here, I got everything laid out. I'm thinking to myself, I need something that I can weld on, right? Because I don't have a welding table here. But what I do have is some leftover 2 foot by 2 foot or 60 centimeter by 60 centimeter ceramic tile from when I did my kitchen and hallway. And it's probably flat. And I'm pretty sure it's not going to catch fire if I weld on it. Now, it's not conductive, obviously, so I'll have to clamp to my actual workpiece. But I would say that as a makeshift table for doing some welding in a non-welding shop, that'll do. And I've got about 6 of them, so if I break this one, I can just get another one. And just as I suspected, one angle is 78.15, the other one's 75. Don't want to be welding that piece on there backwards. So we're going to take a measurement and make sure that we have it facing the right way. Nice. Starting to look good. Starting to come together. Pop that over there. So there we have the beginning of our frame. I mean, that's nice and solid. It's, put 4 little tacks on the corners, keeps it nice and straight. Yep. It's kept it really nice and straight. And yeah, we'll weld it up all the way around after we test it. So let's see, now that we've got this piece done, we can actually put it onto the subframe just to check all our holes and make sure everything's lining up properly. So let's do that. Right, so what we have is this unit here, and it's going to go in like that, and I just have the suspension sort of tucked there. So what I'm going to do this here, line up that hole, line up that hole, line up that hole, there. And given that we need some spacers, oh, that shit lines up nice. Woo. I am happy about that. So you can see there is the beginning of our frame. So what I'm going to do is I'll pop you out of the little holder here, and as you can see, the beginning of our frame is now sitting on here, which is one of the mounts, and there is a spacer that goes through here and spaces it off, and likewise on this mount here there's a spacer, and then this front mount actually sits flush here, but all three of the holes line up beautifully with the subframe, and that provides a nice little 2x3 subframe here. And then get toasty warm, that's good. And I can grind that down because I got the weld down inside there, which is what I wanted. I can give that a bit of a grind down and I'll be happy. Okay, so I don't have the other two, I don't know if you can see, but I don't have the other two pieces here. One of them is still on the lathe. I needed a cutoff for it. But I got that, so I'm probably going to run out and go and machine those parts. Sorry, this thing's kind of loud, but I'm going to go machine that part, and yeah, then we'll continue on, because once I have that part, then at least like I'm level. This part is going to sit properly on the frame. This one will stand off where it's going to stand off, and I don't need the piece right away. Alright, this is a little ugly, but you know what? It'll do. And of course I'm like completely blind because my helmet keeps like and keeps turning on and off, even though I'm welding, which yeah, don't buy a cheap helmet. I'm probably gonna have to upgrade. Alright. Safety at least second. I've got the whole section here at the front done, which is I'm happy about. I just tacked it into place. The couple places that are buried underneath this extra piece here that's going to support that cross brace I was talking about. I welded those seams solid all the way through, and then I'll just weld over the faces here. I didn't get on the inside here. I should be able to get that down in here and in here. Well, it's a little more advanced. I may or may not get into that. Not 100% sure, but we'll see. So that side is tacked together and is going to definitely be strong enough for what I need. And at this point, the next thing I'm going to do is start assembling and working on the back end, because the only piece that goes between is a big long piece that is sitting there. So let's get that assembled and start welding that. That is the back section of the chassis. Almost done, not really, but almost. Just see, I don't know how big. Okay, so I have got most of the back section welded here. This is going to be the stud for the rear mount. This is the part that holds the stud for the front mount, and that will get welded on to here like this. And then this part here gets welded on top like that. This piece that attaches to the main rail of the frame will get welded on here like that, and then the frame gets attached there and runs in parallel with this. It's offset very slightly. Now, I'm sure you're probably wondering, why is there extra holes in this? Well, I needed this size here, and this one here will get this piece. So rather than cut a bunch of different pieces, this piece will go on like that, and this piece will go here, and this will actually get nuts welded to it on the underside, and that will be the seat that's going to sandwich the flat shelf at the back of the car with the roll cage base frame. So that way I am having my roll cage mounted directly to the chassis as one solid piece. So that's why I just put holes here. I don't really need them there, but you know what? It's easier to give them 2 parts, 1, 2, than 3 parts, because that's when more parts, more problems, you know, laser cut. Gonna keep going. right, so I just mocked this into place with a couple welding magnets, and as you can see, it tucks around the back of the motor in the standard position. So that's the kind of distance I got in there, about an inch and a half in there between this cross brace here that's going to go over to the other side of the frame and will attach to the firewall. As you can see, it goes through this part of the frame here, which gives me some nice solid piece there. And yeah, so that's how that's going to be mounted in there. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to mock up the rest of the other side of the frame off camera, and then I'll be back when I've got all that done.
One eternity later.
There we go. And there's only 2 more pieces to make, but I don't need them. Yeah, I do need them right away, so I guess I'm still going to be making some more. That's the front, middle, and back for the front subframe. That's the one that was missing from the first side of the subframe that I did. And these are the 2 front pieces for the rear subframe. So I still have the rear of the rear subframe to do. There's 2 more. They look a lot like this. They're a standoff with a flat bolt or a flat washer that sits or flat that sits against the subframe. So 2 more to go. I was hoping to have a friend actually make them for me. I have to tap these ones, and the reason that I wanted him to make it for me is, if you can see here, these are like 76 mil long, so they're like 3 inches, and they need to be tapped all the way through. So they're going to be a nightmare to tap and like drill all the way through. But these are the only ones that have like an inside detail here that needs to be machined on the inside. And the lathe I'm using, the steady rest is not super steady. So I might still see if he can do those for me. And if he can't, well, I guess I'll be doing them myself best I can. But as you can see, I got the other side of the rear set up there. I've got set up for the standoff pieces, and I started tacking the other side at the front. I had this piece over at the other shop where I was doing the machining, just so I could measure the holes on it. So that's why it's not tacked to that one. I've got my cross brace here, and I have a set of the shock tower blanks here that I'm actually going to use for templating. So this goes on here like that. But what I've done is I had these made so that I can actually screw these or bolt these to the underside of the original chassis and then build a jig off of these that matches the frame mount. That way what I can do is I can bolt it to my frame that I'm welding here, and these will just float in the perfect spot that I can then build my shock mount to, and I'll know that it's located in the right place. So anyway, onwards and upwards. Good morning, everyone. It's another morning here. Okay, so I finally got all of these parts machined, and I'm going to get a bunch of welding done today. So today's plan is to get these pieces welded into place, tack welded, get the remainder of the frame pieces welded together and dry fit to the motor, and maybe get as far as pulling the rear subframe, etc., out and lining everything up with the frame and getting it dry fit. Also want to get these done. I picked up some nuts and bolts here. These are for the roll cage mount. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack weld these into place. I'll probably weld them all the way around. That way when I put this part in, as I had over on this piece, which I got to cut away because I forgot, I'll have the bolts pre-installed into the onto the metal. That way it'll all fit, and those actually will fit around this area here. This is going to get moved a little bit, but basically they're going to fit here, and that's where my roll cage is going to be bolted and come up. And I haven't decided what I'm going to do, but I might bring it out and up here and around. But anyway, that's for a later date. So let's get rocking on this. I still... So I just I tacked these into place here, and I didn't use any filler on the back of this just because I don't want to fully weld it just yet. I will go back in there and reheat and fill that in, as well as tack in around here once I make sure that everything's good here. But those pieces are all put together now. They're still hot, that's why I'm wearing gloves. I got all the other stuff tacked together, and the front part here for the other side. So I'm going to put that in place and make sure that that lines up. Take a bunch of measurements, make sure everything is parallel and square, and then I have a little bit more welding to do for that piece that goes along the firewall that I spoke about before. And I will get that welded into, or get that welded up, but not welded to the side pieces just yet. So that's what's on tap now. So that's about all the time I have for this episode. So I think that's a good place to stop. And hopefully you've enjoyed what I've done here, and maybe you'll come back for the next episode. Hoping to get that one out in about 3 weeks or so. But like I say, subscribe. It's going to help the channel, and it's going to let me know how many people are coming and watching these videos on a regular basis, so I can get some kick in the butt to actually get these out the door. So thanks for sticking around this long.